Welcome, everyone. I'm Linda Brayman. It's glorious May, the month when we think about mothers. Did you know that Mother's Day was created by Anna Jarvis in 1908 and became an official U.S. holiday in 1914? Anna, who was born in 1864 and died in 1948, led the movement for the commemoration in honor of her mother, who had frequently expressed a desire for the establishment of such a holiday. It's wonderful that we honor our mothers, and it's wonderful that you are here to watch Senior Moments. So let's get started. Senior Moments covers events and activities at senior centers in the Ann Arbor Ypsilanti area, such as the Ann Arbor Senior Center, Turner Senior Resource Center, the Pittsfield Senior Center, and the Ann Arbor Community Center. Also, the show provides valuable information for senior citizens on such issues as health, wealth, finance, and entertainment. Senior Moments is a monthly show. It premieres on the last Sunday of the month at 5 p.m. and it reruns 10 times a week on CTN Channel 16. Please check out our website, a2gov.org/CTN for the playback schedule. Also, you can watch the show on YouTube. Please log on to youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to view current and archived shows. So stay tuned for Senior Moments. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello, this is Senior Moments. I'm Brigitte Maassen. Today we have Debra Golden, a watercolor artist at the Ann Arbor Senior Center. Thank you for coming, Barbara, and sharing your art. And I'm looking forward meeting you and, well, we met already, but, to showing you your art and telling us about you.
Okay, thank you.
I know you work at Washtenaw Community College and
Yes.
also at Eastern Michigan.
True.
And you're in very different areas in art, all different types. Maybe you would like to explain to us what type of art you're doing.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit all over the map. In my class at Eastern, I'm teaching art education for non-art majors. They want to teach, and I have to tell them how art is connected to everything. And it really does connect so many different things. And within that, I'm teaching them different ways of painting. I have my MFA, my Master of Fine Arts, in watercolor. They say painting and drawing, but specifically watercolor. And I've been teaching that for a very long time, and I'm also teaching acrylics and sketching and drawing. And then sometimes we mix it up and show a little bit of both.
So what is your favorite?
Watercolor is my forte.
Okay.
Watercolor, I love them all for different reasons, and joke that I use different things for different ones. I like how immediate it can be, how spontaneous. At the same time, it can require great planning. But I like what I'm able to do, and that I don't spend ages waiting for it to dry.
I can understand. And also, especially since the senior moment, and seniors like to know, and as we know how
Yes.
important it is, the older you get, you should always learn something new. It really makes your brain working. So anyway,
Yes.
what is your class like, for the seniors?
Okay, my class at the seniors, so I started teaching the class at the Burns Park Senior Center just a year ago. Somebody I knew, a very nice person who had been teaching before, let it go. And because I've been teaching at Washtenaw for about 12 years, they contacted Washtenaw, who then contacted me, because I have so many seniors taking my other classes. Little plug here. If you are over 65 and you're willing to prove it, that you can take my classes at WCC for free. So not just the official senior classes, but the regular classes.
I would qualify already 20 years ago.
There we go. There we go. And also have done this for the Ypsi Library, and learning never gets old and everything. But the classes at Washtenaw for the seniors aren't a whole lot different from my classes where I have the 20 or 30-year-olds. because they're there to learn. There is socializing. There's like, oh, discovering something new. So we do, I give demonstrations. I show them examples of what is possible, bring in some still lifes, everybody paints, and we share what we're doing and get feedback. And we sometimes laugh a lot too.
Have you been surprised of seniors coming and all of a sudden who have never done anything, you know, in kind of paint or anything, all of a sudden, you know, something is happening to them and, you know, and they have this creative streak?
I have been stunned. I have people, oh my gosh, oh, I've never done this before. And I said, it's been waiting inside you. Everybody, I can't do anything. It's like a stick figure, watch, I'm going to bring you from here to here. But there are some people. I am thinking of one woman who was a university professor in a different area, and she's doing this whole series of family portraits in watercolor,
wow.
working, as I am too right now, of old family photos that are black and white and stuff. And she created a family calendar of all of these really, really old images. And I was just like, how long have you been doing this? She says, oh, my first class with you, 4 years ago. She went from here to Pyong. I had another who was just in her kids were critiquing her stuff. They were acting like, well, that's not very good, comparing it to somebody who's been in a museum. And it was just like, she's fabulous. She won an award from one of the art supply catalogs.
That's amazing.
It was just like, wow, it was in here. And then once they had the freedom and the permission to do it, it just, wow.
I see you brought several of your artwork and in different media as well.
Yes.
And I know I'm quite struck by this particular one. I just love this watercolor. Maybe you could explain, you know, where it is and what inspired you to do this. So I would be interested in that.
Sure, sure. This is inspired in part by my walking through local parks, okay, people? Some of you might think it's just like, where is this? You had an idea of where it might be. This is Lily Park Pond, Fall Reflections, and I took the photo of it. I took a number of photos, corner of Platt and Ellsworth, and I loved the colors, the reflections in the water. In addition to your basic watercolor classes, I've done special topics, such as people and portraits in watercolor, animals in watercolor. This one was about water in watercolor. How do we show the lakes, the rivers, the streams? And I thought, oh my gosh. So this one I did for the class, and we did 2 or 3 sessions with this. So this was a longer one of planning out, drawing it first, because in watercolor we have to plan where we're saving the light areas and working from light to dark, and then working with them of showing how to have the colors, the light of the trees, seeing the reflections. Sometimes I'd even have them turn their picture sideways, so if you're thinking about the reflections, it's like a butterfly. This side mirrors that side. And then I take off from the photo and rearrange some elements, such as the plants over here, to make that composition. Even through in the telephone lines.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that.
Yes,
yeah,
it should not stand out.
Yeah, I see,
but it's those little details that I love that tell you exactly where this is. Could you stand and find, I can think back of going through the hikes and going that I could get to here on these rocks and how close I could get to the water without falling in. But water in watercolor and the special challenges. So within this, I'm showing them how to paint water, how to paint the sky, how to paint the trees, working with that contrast, and still having it feel fresh. And I really like making it feel like you're there.
Debra, I must say, I'm really awed by this particular painting because I own several watercolors myself. And I would like you to come and visit me because I have one which had gotten an award, you know, from a friend of mine who painted. She was taught by Kokoschka. I mean, so I don't know, she's probably not alive anymore.
Yes.
But your details are just amazing. I mean, that's really struck me with this particular watercolor. I just love this, I must say that. And then I think you show something like local area here in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, this one I did because many of my students know my other background, my other life has been in theater. So this one is Murray Street. So anybody knows Murray Street on the west side, right?
Where is
The
it exactly?
old west side,
I know
near,
the west side,
near
yeah.
Liberty and Washington.
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
little street, and it's got a hill like nyok. I did this painting along with another one because I was doing a poster for Ann Arbor Civic Theater, and it was mornings at 7. I'm doing my research, going, okay, what should I show? Because I've done the theater sets for them before, and said in this one, the playwright had mentioned that what the houses looked like and the time period, and I know, oh my gosh, I'm going to find them here in this neighborhood. So I went up and down the streets looking, and I painted the two yellow houses, and one of them I changed the color of so they'd match the color. But these were on the same street, and I just loved that up and down, up and down, up and down of the roofs, and then catching the light on the sidewalk. It might have been trash day and I leave out the cans.
Oh yeah, I would think so.
But it was just, there is just so much around here. And I think for me, just having that connection of, oh, look at this space and look at this, where was this? And, you know, letting that red pop out. And I had a local realtor come out. I was like, what are you doing? He was like, oh.
No, but and also, you know, probably people might be interested because I had my former house when I lived in Detroit painted by a watercolor artist. So I have, you know, this, so maybe some people here in Arbor might be interested, you know, give you commissions to do their houses, because I think that's really nice to be able to have like your house, you know, painted. Or like drawn or watercolor, or and then also I see you have some acrylic. You do some flowers.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, just I have done a commission for one of my friends, one of my old sorority sisters, and she had me paint her house in all 4 seasons.
Oh.
Here is the summer view, the fall view, the winter view, the spring view, and whatever. And did a similar thing for the Michigan Municipal League.
Oh.
And they asked me, and so it's a very boring building, but I said, boom, we're going to have it in 4 sections.
Are you doing it in a collage like you do here?
I did it as just let the colors change as I went halfway and a quarter way through it. But yeah, different ways. The acrylics, I've done acrylics for almost as long as I've done the watercolors. When you're studying painting, and you do oils, you do acrylics, you do mixed media and stuff like that. And because I love flowers, So this was part of a demo, because I do demos for so many of my classes. And I love the spring flowers and I love the daffodils, but being able to, make them last forever.
And then
the paint.
Also you brought something which is really interesting. It's a particular class you're teaching.
Yeah. This is, you can see the drawings, and I teach a class called Urban Sketching. And what is urban sketching?
Yeah, I like to know.
We now have a chapter, but a friend of mine, student said, you should be teaching urban sketching. And I looked it up and said, I've been doing that for ages. When I sit on the sidewalk, and I'd be sitting in Depot Town, not far from my house, and drawing the restaurants and drawing the houses as I'm sitting out there eating ice cream and drawing and painting. That's what it is. We are drawing scenes from our neighborhoods, from our community, of where we live, and we're putting in those little things that say, hey, this means something to me. This is where I am. So I take those classes, and we go around with our sketchbooks most often and draw, sometimes with pencil. I will oftentimes go with my marker and go, no guts, no glory.
So what kind of material did you use? You said markers? You didn't use like pastels or, no, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I know, I'm double checking my
Yeah.
own stuff. This one, I had my class, and there's my class right there. See,
Oh,
I sketched them very cartoony because everybody's moving. The buildings don't move, but the other stuff. And we'd have the cars going by. This, I was using a marker, a black marker. And then I went over it with my watercolors, my small watercolor kit, and just hit it with the color.
I see.
So there's a Salt Springs Brewery, used to be a church, and now it's a restaurant. And then I have the van, and just we moved from here to there. In urban sketching, we'll put things down like the location and what time it was and something special we saw. And I've got things like it's a breezy day, and there's the flags, and happy hour with people in the courtyard. So I kind of arranged things circling around, so each individual sketch grew into an entire composition. But I'd have people doing one part, so I'm modeling for them, do something here, say something about it, cross the street and get another view.
I see.
Yeah, but then the challenge is, if I put in the sky and this, it ties it together.
Well, I must say your artwork is very, different varieties. Now you have to show something to animal lovers, because I just saw this. I felt like that was kind of interesting. I know it's a picture. You explain who it is.
I have a picture of my roommate, of the one that I could spend time with during COVID. And here is my handsome little guy. This is Barney. And Barney was the model for this painting. I've taken a number of photographs of him, and friends joking, oh, you're going to do portraits of your pets, but black cats and dogs, that's impossible. I'm like, no.
So, and what kind of what kind of material? I mean, like colors did you use?
It's watercolor, and I drew this so my students in the watercolor class got to see it in process. And sometimes I'm using my photos and enlarging and getting that outline just right. Most of the time I'm using the white of the paper, okay? This time I have found the right color white, titanium white, and sometimes gouache to mix into that. And so I've got that and highlighting the little spots in his eyes for that sparkle, and that little thing where my brush, I've got a really skinny brush that just goes whoosh. So combinations of that, but the black isn't always black. I have my recipes and tell them if you just use plain black paint, it just sits there. And so I will
mix. You need to have it blended, you know.
You need to have it blended. And even with the eyes where that yellow and that green has to change, that black has to have some blue in it, has to have some purple in it, has to have some red into it for it to feel alive. And this dude's very much alive.
No, I know. So that gives some more, like, personality, it doesn't look like stiff, so.
Exactly. What do we do in painting? We're masters of illusion.
Yeah, right, that's true.
Yeah, so I've got that, and so I've got my favorite colors of sepia and indigo blue, and tell them, this combines and will make it feel like it's black. And then also I've got my pencil lines in here a little bit. There's a little bit of pencil, but it shouldn't be too obvious.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, because the painting has to breathe.
Okay. Yeah. No, because I think this is really very well done. And let me see what other.
Well, this with that black, I did this for my class on Monday night, and we were talking, and we're near the end of the term, and I brought in some hyacinth, and I was showing them how you could take the color and blend it by just dragging the brush. And thinking, what color for the background? And I've joked, okay, I'm throwing this open, for the class, going, hey, what do you want to see next? Which is whatever. This background, what color do you see?
Well, it looks black, but I think there's some brown mixed into it as well.
It feels like black. There is no black paint.
Wow.
No black paint. So I mixed my dark alizarin crimson red, and I mixed my very dark green and my very dark phthalo and Prussian blue. There is no black paint on here. So
That's amazing.
it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
it's
right.
kind of fun.
Especially here too, you know. And then also you illustrated a book, yeah?
Yeah, I love books. Who doesn't love books, right? And so I illustrated a project with Pat Kessner, who is still around. She used to be a high school English teacher at Huron. And another now retired teacher was illustrating and telling their stories. And then finally Pat's like, I want to do a spin on Little Miss Muffet. And so talked, and we came up with this. And I did a lot of studies about spiders. And there's my version of a spider.
Oh.
Where people are like, who's afraid of spiders? They're going, ah! But isn't a spider adorable when it has big eyelashes?
Right, yeah.
And the polka dots. So we did this little thing here, and I had some kids
So
who are
where
no
can
longer
you,
kids
where
model
can
for
you
this.
get this book? Because I'm thinking of my grandkids.
I know. I have to see. This is where I can put you in touch with Pat Kessner. Don't know, oh gosh, I know she's on Facebook, but we can put you in touch with Pat, and then I've got my website, but contacting Pat, because I think she hasn't sold all the copies, because not in bookstores. That's self-publishing bit. But
I like this.
it's
Very
a
nice,
lot.
yeah.
It was a lot of fun doing that, and here again, planning the white, and just lots of different ways to paint with that watercolor and give that feeling of that spider that a photograph would not do it.
Oh, I see. It was all your different, you know,
Mm-hmm.
media. I mean, you are pretty creative, you know, in so many ways. You know, it's really amazing. And also, how do you sign up for a class, or where do you go? Or, you know, when are they?
Okay, so a couple things. So I don't forget that I've got to update the information on that on my website. So my website, boom.
Maybe we can, you know, maybe
Debra,
they can show the website where
Yeah,
they can maybe
sure.
Check.
DebraGoldenArt.weebly.com. So Debra Golden, D-E-B-R-A, Golden, G-O-L-D-E-N, art, A-R-T, .weebly, W-E-E-B-L-Y.com, and you can Google it.
Yeah.
And I put information down there. Beyond that, for the senior centers, you can contact the Ann Arbor Senior Center, and
Okay.
I think on the Ann Arbor City site, they have links to that. But the Burns Park location, my classes for that are going to start in a week or so.
And for how long? What's the duration?
10 weeks usually.
Okay.
10 weeks. So I've got classes there, and I've also got classes for seniors at the Pittsfield Township location, which is right near Ellsworth and State Street. And that's going to be a class of flowers in watercolor.
Okay, so you have different, you know, subjects, you know, you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then besides that, you can go to W's.
That's for the Washtenaw Community
yeah,
College.
Washtenaw.
So we
Washtenaw-
just check out their website, yeah?
Yeah, the important thing there is that I teach in community enrichment.
Okay.
So they've got the credit classes and the non-credit classes. So the community enrichment, where we're doing those things for ourselves to improve
Right.
our lives
Yes.
and make us feel better and grow our skills,
Yeah.
are in community enrichment.
Yeah, because I attended the architecture, which is like mid-century architecture with
Ooh.
Grace Shackman.
Yes.
And I love, you know, this type of architecture myself, you know. So,
Yeah.
so I would like to kind of explore. I'll be honest, I love art.
Mm-hmm.
If you would see my house, I have like a little gallery and music, but I've never tried to draw or do anything like that. Even so, I love art. I know. I feel like I don't have talent. So I'm kind of encouraged when you say...
Stay tuned. I'm going to give her some tips.
Yeah, no, because I really would like to, because, you know, it gets your mind, you know, also, because, you know, if you create something, you use different parts of your brain, especially, you know, when you get older, you know, so
Yes.
you want to keep sharp, you know.
You
I
do.
mean, so, you know, it's supposedly not supposed to, you know, leave you for a long time if you, you know, work with it, you know, and you encourage it and nourish it. And I think that's what we need to tell all seniors, you know, please stay active, you know, and I try, and sometimes, well, I should be doing more walking, but then the weather is bad, and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go outside, and then I feel bad. But anyway, so,
Yeah.
but I think this is very creative, and I think that really touches a certain part of your brain, which is, you know, really, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
To sharpen myself, like, you know, pencil sharpen my brain.
You do, you do. I find it interesting that among my students in the Burns Park location with the Senior Center, that I have a couple of retired art teachers. They never did watercolor. And like, oh, I finally get to learn this.
Right.
And I joked, I said, you can teach an old dog new tricks. You can learn something new. And, oh, I can't do that. And I said, no, 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 no. Have you tried it? Have you tried it? And so I have exercises to break it down, to say, oh, if we put it into bite-sized pieces, we can do it. So that bit about looking for those details, looking for the colors, they're going to see more. That's going to start working the brain. It will bring back some memories and thinking about all those pictures you have in your head.
Right.
Talking to each other. So there are so many ways that it's so good for us to do that painting, but also with that community of seeing so many different ways to do it. And I think with that creativity, it's like, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. I don't want it to look like everybody did the same thing.
No, because you want to be an individual, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you, is there anything else, you know, we haven't touched here or talked about here, which has to do with your artwork or what, you know, whatever you could, you know, share or encourage? And
yeah. Oh gosh, I do so much. It's almost over the top, because my students know I'm a working artist, so I teach the watercolor and the urban sketching, and then I've joked how one of my other medias is house paint, because I'm painting theater sets and backdrops of scenes of New York, in you know, with household paint, and also handmade books. So I've got one last thing here, because that's something that beyond the books is that with the library, the Ipsy Library has my work in all 3 locations. University of Michigan has works in several locations. And one of my books is in the Bentley Library.
oh,
But in terms of a book, different sort of going, what is a handmade book? And some friends of mine with the Washington Street Gallery have done stuff inspired me. But this is a book all about places in Detroit.
oh, I'm interested. I lived in Detroit.
You lived
know,
in
quite
Detroit.
a long time, yeah.
But it's just fun. So when I'm teaching, you know, with handmade books, I'm teaching them how to make the books, but then how they can use something like watercolor to illustrate.
Well, Debra, I want to thank you so much for giving your time and your talent, and hopefully seniors, you know, are inspired and want to, you know, attend one of your classes and maybe try to see if there might be a little hidden Picasso in them or so. You know, maybe I should try it. So I want to thank you so much, you know, for coming here. And I'm so glad that we're able to do it again at CTN, because unfortunately we weren't able to do anything for quite a while. But this is wonderful, and I thank you very, very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us on Senior Moments. I'm Linda Brayman, reminding you to enjoy every day in the month of May.